The Third War, Part 2. I stared at James for a good 10 minutes, trying to understand. It made no sense what he was telling me. No, it's not true. I was bitten. He tried, but I've been watching over you for years. When he tried to attack you, you simply passed out. I was watching him, ever since I smelled him around you. I knew what he was when I saw you bringing him home after the war. He was chemically made into a monster. But whatever do you mean? Since you were born, I've known about you. Your parents, the werewolf gene skipped a generation. To be frank, it skipped every generation after my son was born. Your great-grandfather, Charlie. He bore other children who had other children, but there was no change in them. You were the first one born that had the ability. Even though you haven't mutated into a full-blown wolf, you still have the senses that come with it. Hearing, vision, and psychic abilities. It's a blessing and a curse. I stopped Michael that night. I didn't kill him, but we had a good fight. That's why there was so much blood. I paused to look at James. I was grappling with what he was telling me. I didn't want to think I was some sort of mutation. I asked for more proof, and he was shockingly able to provide a family tree, which dated all the way back to King Henry VIII's reign. It was on a tapestry he kept behind a wall in his office. He had been at this for years, as were my other ancestors. Each person named, and whether or not they had the ability to shapeshift or not was written by their names. I scoffed at wondering how he could be alive, but my mother and father were not, and how they were just regular mortals. Not all of us carry those abilities. My curse has been to have the ability to regenerate. Anytime I get a scratch or bleed, I heal quickly. You too have this gene. We inherited it from the first wolf, a female. I'm not sure what her name was. Our family tree doesn't go back that far. I only know of her through stories passed down each generation. I know this is a shock to you, Marianne. Believe me, I get your disbelief. There was something about him. I knew he wasn't lying. It was a lot to take in. I had so many questions. They'd have to wait, though. My phone was buzzing. It was Millie, my neighbor. Hello, Millie. Is everything okay?
Marianne, I didn't want to alarm you, but I saw a man trying to pry open your window about 10 minutes ago. I've called the cops. You may want to cut your plans short and come home, the elderly woman said.
I'm sorry, James. There's been an attempted break-in at my home. I have to go. I'll come with you. I didn't try to stop him. I felt a familiar sort of feeling, and I forgot how much I missed having family around me. James was a very welcome guest at this very moment. I think they know where you are now. Who? I asked. The ones who took me and the ones that they made. There's so much to tell you. I ran out the door and I jumped in my SUV. As he rode next to me, I caught him grinning at the fact I was a fast driver, avoiding red lights as if my life depended on it. When I arrived home, there were 2 cop cars parked in front of my house. Millie was standing there talking to one of the cops. There was something about his eyes. They glared at James when he saw him. I ran up to them both. Millie, what happened?
You the owner of this house? The cop asked.
Yes, I nodded.
We don't see any signs of a break-in. We took the statement from your neighbor. We'll keep an eye on your house the next couple of nights in case someone was prowling around, he said almost sarcastically. James looked at the man whose eyes now shifted to a green. I knew then the cop was a werewolf, most likely one like my husband. I cringed inwardly at the thought. The cops left and sped off. Millie looked frightened. I don't think they believed me. I know what I saw. James looked at her thoughtfully. Thank you for trying. That's all that matters. We walked Millie home, and then James and I went into my house. The first thing he did was sniff around like some sort of wild animal. They were here. His mouth twitched and his eyes glowed red. Who? Them. The ones who took me. You have to tell me what happened, James. All of it. James sat at my kitchen table, and I offered him a glass of wine. He took it and gulped it down quickly. I could see that whatever he was going to tell me was going to take a toll on him, and it had been burdensome ever since. 20 years ago, I met a buddy of mine who worked in science. I never gave it much thought. He was always going on about DNA and tracking down fathers of children. I met him through a hiking group I used to be in when I first moved to the city with my wife. Andrew was a great guy. He knew the area. He knew how to help me find a good job. His wife was friends with mine. We all got along like some episode of Leave It to Beaver. Things were great then. Well, one full moon I was out in the park. I knew I was going to shift soon, and I tried to keep it hidden, but someone was following me. Normally, I could control it for a while, maybe up to an hour, but I felt threatened. That's when I saw him. It was Andrew, and he had been following me. I didn't know why, but then I saw my entire body switch. I was the wolf. I attacked him. Before I knew it, I had him on the ground, and then lights out. I didn't remember anything after that, but I woke up sitting in a cage in a lab. Oh my God, I said. I couldn't imagine being locked in a cage. I looked at Andrew, dead in the eyes, and I told him I was sorry. He wasn't shocked, though. He ended up letting me out of the cage, but it was months before I knew why I was there to begin with. I had a few more incidents where I woke up in a cage, a strange building, once a hospital, laboratory. Andrew had somehow found out about me. He sold my DNA to a private company in Kosovo. I was used by someone I trusted, and then the war happened. That's when I started seeing men coming home with strange attributes. Crime went down, but deaths went up. I paid Andrew a visit one fine evening. Let's just say there wasn't much left of him when I was done. I knew there was probably a lot more to the story, but I didn't want to press James any further. He had already told me more than I ever expected when I met him. I figured whoever was trying to find me must want me for the same reasons they wanted my grandfather. I knew it was only a matter of time before Michael came back again, looking for me.